Now you might be asking me, Justin, you said 2 of those preliminary card fights should be on the main card, but which 2 main card fights would you get rid of in order to put the Nunes Gaff and Magalesh Perosh fights on the main card? One step ahead of you. This first fight is definitely a fight that could stand being on the undercard. Flyweight division, Jonh Lineker versus Jose Tome. And it's no disrespect to either of these guys. I just don't think this is a main card fight on a UFC pay-per-view. Jonh Lineker, 21-6 on his pro career, 2-1 record in the UFC. He TKO'd Azamat Gashimov in his last fight. Lineker is 8-3 though when the fight goes the distance, so no matter where it goes, Lineker is prepared. 12 of his 21 pro wins have been finishes, more strikes than anything else, 9 knockouts and 3 submissions. Now 3 of his 6 losses have come by way of submission, so he could very well be susceptible to somebody with very good grappling. He's a very aggressive fighter, and he's got great cardio. Even like all the guys at this weight class are super fast and have good cardio, and Lineker's just like that next step up in terms of cardio. Very, very good. He's a stand-up striker, very little in terms of clinch striking or ground and pound, so it's mostly stand-up, but he has outstruck his opponent in 3 straight fights. Jose Tome, 33-3-2 on his pro career, only problem being hasn't really fought anybody of significance. Making his UFC debut, currently riding a 12-fight win streak, including 8 consecutive finishes. How good of a finisher is this guy? Try 28 of 33 professional wins have been finishes, 15 knockouts, and 13 subs. However, all 3 of his career losses have come by way of submission, including to a top-tier fighter here in Jussier Formiga in 2008. I would expect a stand-up war between the 2 of these guys, and honestly, if it comes down to a stand-up war, no disrespect to Jonh Lineker, I kind of like this Jose Tome kid. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but I kind of like him. I've watched a couple of his fights on YouTube, and the dude is an exciting fighter, and he's very, very good. No matter where the fight goes, Tome is very, very good. So I actually think I got to give it to him here. This is going to be a bit of an upset, but I'm going to take Jose Tome to beat Jonh Lineker by way of first round knockout or TKO. Moving up to the middleweight division, former #1 contender Thales Leites is going to be taking on Tom Watson. Now, Thales Leites, 20-4 on his pro career, 5-3 in the UFC, currently riding a 3-fight win streak in smaller regional promotions. 13 of his 20 pro wins have come by way of submission. He is a first-degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt fighting with the Nova União camp. And if you know anything about the Nova União camp, I've talked about them here a couple of times. Primo fight camp, especially for grapplers. Leites' striking is not bad. He's got some ground and pound ability there as well, so if the fight goes to the ground, no problem. Very, very active, almost, I would border on saying world-class ground game. Like, if he gets you on the ground, very, very, very good grappler and very dangerous. The dude can't stop takedowns, though, so Tom Watson's takedowns aren't great, but Leites cannot stop them. So Tom Watson, 16-5 in his pro career, but only has a 1-1 record in the UFC. He TKO'd Stanislav Nedkov, however, in his last fight. 8 of his 16 pro wins have been knockouts. He's also 7-3 when the fight goes the distance. Tom Watson trains with both Greg Jackson as well as Faraz Sahabi, so just world-class, top-tier trainers. He's got very good striking, especially in the clinch, as well as standing up, but he's going into this fight with a 5-inch reach disadvantage. Despite the disadvantages in terms of reach as well as grappling on the ground, I don't know, it's another gut feeling. I just feel like Tom Watson's going to win this fight. Maybe I can't explain it any better than that, but I just feel like Tom Watson's got the tools standing up to overcome that reach disadvantage. He's got the best game planners in the business behind him. I'm big on Tom Watson in this fight, so I'm going to take Tom Watson to possibly upset Thales Leites in terms of, which fighter you would look at this and just sort of expect him to win the fight. So I'm going to take Tom Watson to beat Thales Leites by way of unanimous judges' decision. Sticking with middleweight, and the second fight that really should not be on the main card, Cesar Ferreira taking on Thiago Santos. Cesar Ferreira, 5-2 in his pro career, 1-0 in the UFC, decisioning Sergio Moraes in his last fight. So he beat a world-class grappler in his last fight. He is the winner, of course, of the Ultimate Fighter Brazil. 3 of his 5 pro wins have come by way of knockout. The dude's biggest weapon is unpredictability. Not only is he a southpaw fighter, he's a friggin' capoeira fighter. And if you know anything about capoeira, it's very fluid and very movement-based and very unpredictable in terms of sort of your cookie-cutter UFC fight game. So he's not only a southpaw, but he's also a capoeira fighter. He's got a BJJ black belt. The only thing really going against him is dude trains with the Blackzilians. Ugh. His opponent is Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos, 8-1 on his pro career, making his UFC debut. He TKO'd Dennis da Silva in his last fight in a regional promotion. 4 of his 8 pro wins have come by way of knockout. However, he was knocked out in his only loss in April of last year. Santos is also 3-0 when the fight goes the distance. I'm pretty high on this Cesar Ferreira dude. You can't hate a capoeira fighter. You just can't. I mean, it's such a fun and interesting fight style to watch. You can't hate a dude like that. I'm going to take Cesar Ferreira. I'm going to take him to beat Thiago Santos by way of unanimous judges' decision. Co-main event time. In the light heavyweight division, we have 2 real contenders in this division. Moving on, you got to think this is probably a title eliminator anyways. We're talking about the Dragon, Lyoto Machida, getting back in there since his fight, for the first time rather, since his fight with Dan Henderson, taking on Mr. Wonderful Phil Davis. Lyoto Machida's 19-3 on his pro career, a great UFC record of 11-3. Of course, decisioning Dan Henderson in his last fight, as we mentioned. His only 3 losses on his whole career come to former or the current light heavyweight champ. We're talking about Shogun, Rampage Jackson, and of course, Jon Jones. He is 10-1 when the fight goes the distance, and he's such a dangerous counterpuncher. Like, the dude will just sit there and will just wait for you to do something. Kind of like an Anderson Silva type, except I think Anderson's tends to be a little more aggressive than Lyoto is. He also has an 82% takedown defense, so that is bordering on elite level takedown defense. But Lyoto's going to need every inch of that 82% takedown defense taken on Phil Davis. Phil Davis, 11-1 on his pro career, 7-1 in the UFC, so decent amount of UFC experience in Davis's corner as well. He decisioned Vinny Magalhães in his last fight. He's a BJJ purple belt under Lloyd Irvin. He is a 4-time Div 1 All-American wrestler and the 2008 NCAA Div 1 champion at 197 pounds. The dude's very elusive in his own right. 74% of incoming strikes avoided, as well as a 71% takedown defense. Davis has got good striking, he's got a lot of reach, and he's got really, really good ground and pound. But we're talking about Lyoto Machida. So I'm going to have to stick with Lyoto Machida. I like Phil Davis. I just don't think he's quite there yet. I think his striking needs to come up to that next level to be able to challenge a guy like Lyoto. So I'm going to take Lyoto Machida to beat Phil Davis, even if Phil starts spamming takedowns. Machida beats Davis by second round, knockout or TKO. And it's main event time, kids. 5 rounds for the UFC Featherweight Championship. Scarface, Jose Aldo, one of the pound-for-pound top fighters in the world, taking on one of my personal favorites, the Korean zombie, Sung Jung. Jose Aldo, 22-1 on his pro career, a perfect 4-0 record since being handed the UFC Featherweight title, currently riding a 15-fight win streak, including his decision win over Frankie Edgar in his last fight. This dude has not lost a fight since 2005, and it's not like he's been fighting scrubs. He's been fighting the top-tier dudes in his division as the top champion. So, I mean, he's been fighting great fighters and hasn't lost in almost a decade. 13 of his 22 pro wins have come by way of knockout. He is a masterful Muay Thai striker. Lots of power, really good ground and pound as well. He's also very evasive. 73% of incoming strikes Aldo is able to avoid, and he has an amazing all-world takedown defense. Statistically speaking, 92%. Wow. But we look at the Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie is no slouch here. Korean Zombie is 13-3 on his pro career, undefeated 3-0 in the UFC. Currently riding a 3-finish win streak, including submissions over Leonard Garcia and Dustin Poirier, and a knockout win of 7 seconds over Mark Hominick. 11 of his 13 pro wins have been finishes, 3 knockouts and 8 submissions. Of course, Korean Zombie, the only dude in UFC history to finish a fight with an Eddie Bravo twister submission. Sung Jung also holds 11 knockout wins as a professional kickboxer. Jung is another power striker. I mean, he's got really good striking, he's got really good grappling, and has a granite chin. He's going to need all of that against Jose Aldo because, of course, as we said, Aldo is a very powerful Muay Thai striker, so he's going to need that granite chin, but he's also probably going to want to hope he's got granite knees because some of those leg kicks can really come in there and knock a dude off his feet. As much as I love Korean Zombie, like, I love me some Korean Zombie, it's got to be Jose Aldo, right? Like, I mean, yeah, sure, we saw Anderson Silva lose, but it's not going to happen to 2 of the pound-for-pound top 5, right? Got to stick with Jose Aldo. I've yet to see a featherweight that can come close to beating this dude. Jose Aldo to beat Sung Jung by way of unanimous judges' decision to retain the featherweight title. Those are the fight picks, ladies and gentlemen. Feels good to be back. Let's go over them one more time. Undercard, prelim card, light heavyweight, we have Ednaldo Oliveira to TKO Francimar Barrosa in the second round. Welterweight, we have Viscardi Andrade to submit Bristol Marunde in the first round. Featherweight, we have Ronnie Yahya with a second round submission win over Josh Clopton. Flyweight, we have Uncle Creepy Ian McCall decisioning Iliard Santos. Welterweight division, we have Sergio Moraes defeating Neil Magny by way of second round submission. A lot of submissions on the undercard, I think. Women's bantamweight division, we have Sheila Gaff knocking out or TKOing Amanda Nunes in the first round. Main event of the prelim card, light heavyweight division, we got Vinny Magalesh scoring a unanimous decision victory over Anthony Peroche. Going to take it to the main card now. Flyweight division, we have Jose Tome upsetting Jonh Lineker by way of first round knockout or TKO. I think he catches Lineker early, finishes him off before the first bell. Middleweight division, we have Tom Watson with another, you could probably argue it as an upset victory over Thales Leites by way of unanimous judges' decision. Middleweight division, we've got Cesar Ferreira decisioning Thiago Santos. Light heavyweight division, Lyoto Machida with a second round knockout or TKO victory over Phil Davis in the co-main event. Main event of the evening, Featherweight Championship, Jose Aldo retains by decisioning after 5 rounds the Korean Zombie, Sung Jung. That's it for the fight predictions. I want to hear your fight predictions in the comments section below. Thank you very much for being patient with me while we kind of had a slow middle to the summer there, but I am back. We're going to be sticking with these UFC videos, and you know, coming up in a couple of weeks, NFL's almost back. We got the NFL Pick Show Season 2 coming up this fall. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. That's it for me, the prodigal son. It's good to be back. Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. Enjoy the fights Saturday night.